career of Australian filmmaker Leigh Whannell took off writing for James Wan's Saw franchise and then the Insidious series, the third of which he directed. And now comes Upgrade, which he wrote and directed. It's set in a futuristic world where technology is king, if you have the money for it, where drones police the skies, but where Grey Trace, Logan Marshall Green, prefers tinkering around in vintage cars while he waits for his wife Asha, Melanie Vallejo, to come home from her high-tech job. She goes with him to deliver a car to reclusive Eron, Harrison Gilbertson. But on the way home in her driverless car, things go awry. Asha is killed by the leader of a gang and Grey is terribly wounded, winding up a quadriplegic. He's suicidal. But a visit from Eron encourages him to be part of a secret experiment involving an implant called STEM, which will enable him to walk again and possibly hunt down his wife's killers. He's totally unaware that STEM has superhuman powers. Betty Gabriel plays a cop, Cortez, who's trying to find the people responsible for Asha's death. She becomes suspicious when Grey's spotted on security cameras near where a number of possible suspects meet their death. Benedict Hardy plays the murderer, who seems to have tricks of his own. And Linda Cropper plays Grey's mother. It's a good but bloody yarn which riffs on the dangers of tinkering with artificial intelligence, but not very deeply. Ex Machina did that a lot better. This co-production with Blumhouse Productions in the United States and Goldpost Pictures here was shot in Melbourne. It features a convincing performance from Logan Marshall Green and slick direction from Whannell, who obviously still relishes the gore.
He certainly does, there's no doubt about that. This is actually a rather stylish bit of pulp, really, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Unashamedly so.
Yeah.
And in its way, it's extremely stylish and oddly really quite entertaining.
And really nicely designed, I must say, as well.
And I gather it was just shot in a couple of studios in Melbourne. I mean, it's pretty ingeniously put together. He's a pretty classy little director, this guy.
Well, I guess they've learned over the years to, do films efficiently on the run for not a lot of money.
Yeah, this is Blumhouse Productions. They specialise in this kind of low-key, low-budget stuff, I think, don't they?
Yeah, they're an interesting production house.
Oddly enjoyable.
Yes, 3.5 stars.
3.5 stars from me too.
Stanley's got a knife!
I see that. We have a knife too.
Where did it come from, this film? The germ of the idea?
Initially, I had this idea of a quadriplegic whose body was controlled by a computer. That was it. That was the whole image in my head. And I started obsessing on that idea of what it would be like if a computer did the walking for us. And usually when I have an idea that I can't stop thinking about, I'll start taking notes, or maybe I'll go and do some research. And I remember interviewing a surgeon who performed spinal surgeries, and I read a book called The Singularity is Near, which is about the point at which tech and human beings will merge. And that's what I became interested in. I wasn't interested in robots because I feel like robot movies have been done. I was interested in the idea of human beings putting tech in their bodies and doing so willingly, voluntarily putting it in. And I felt that movie hadn't been made. The idea of human beings upgrading themselves like a phone. For inspiration, I looked to a lot of the sci-fi films that were around when I was growing up before the advent of CGI. When Jurassic Park came along, all of a sudden CG was this paradigm exploding moment. But prior to that, you had all this practical effects-driven stuff, like the Cronenberg films of the 80s, James Cameron and John Carpenter, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And those are really the films of my era. I feel like a lot of times you're most affectionate about those movies you loved in your teenage years. I guess you're affectionate, you never love something as much as you do as when you're a teenager. You'll never love a band that much. You'll never love a movie or a book as much as you did when you were a teenager. That's why teenagers make the best fans. They scream the loudest at the concert. And so I looked to those movies and I was like, we can do this on a low budget. If you look at The Terminator, it's really a low budget movie, the original Terminator film. And James Cameron got out there. It's a down and dirty film. It's got this lo-fi punk aesthetic to it. and they dish out the sci-fi in a really judicious way. But there's a little bit of sleight of hand there because the film feels bigger than it is because the idea is big. So that's what I was pointing to. And I finally convinced Jason Blum to make this film in that spirit.
How do you feel now about where you're going with your career?
I feel great. I mean, I don't really have a plan. A lot of people that I know, directors I know, they're pretty ambitious and they seem to have this chess match going on in their mind of where they're going to be in 5 films' time. I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do this. I don't really work like that. Each film I do, I'm like, I have tunnel vision about that movie until it's over. And so I feel really good because everything feels like a bonus prize to me. I'm still surprised that anybody went to see Saw.
Man, you are persistent.
I cannot allow us to be killed. We are going to finish the job we started.